Kimi Raikkonen is a pretty polarizing figure and has been for the past decade or so. Most either love his cold, not giving a damn attitude, or criticize him for it and for taking out his frustrations on the team. He's enjoyed extension after extension over at Ferrari, and when he was in Lotus, he was unstoppable. Kimi got his visor down, was left alone because he knew what he was doing, and in a car that was only good enough for 4th in the championship, got 2 wins and 13 podiums. Ever since then though, he just hasn't been the same. In the early 2000s, Kimi Raikkonen was synonymous with McLaren, having driven for the Woking team for 5 years after his debut for Sauber in 2001. By the time he joined though, the team was not at its peak anymore. Reliability issues, chassis design constraints, bad pit stops, and the iffy leadership of Ron Dennis ended up giving him 2 second-place finishes in the 2003 and 2005 seasons. The 2003 title was lost to Schumacher because of the first of 2 Michelin tire controversies. During the season, it was found that during races the tires would naturally expand, leading to a bigger contact patch and more grip towards the end of the race. Ferrari protested this, leaving Michelin scrapping for a whole new design concept. After Canada, the midway point of the season, Schumacher took the lead of the championship from Kimi and didn't look back. For 2005, the car was good and the driver was better, but the Renault-Alonso combination was just on another level, with the Spaniard taking the lead of the championship on the second round and holding on to it. Kimi finished a distant second. After a winless, disappointing 2006 season, he switched to Ferrari. The change was announced after the 2006 Italian Grand Prix, and the contract was for 3 years. Raikkonen said after the move that he was very happy with this change and wished McLaren the best of luck in their future. He replaced outgoing Schumacher and partnered young promise Felipe Massa. That was the year he ended up taking the championship from a split McLaren team by 1 point. A championship that, had McLaren decided to outright favor one driver and go for it, Kimi would have had a hard time winning, let's be honest. The next 2 years in red would be quiet, finishing behind Massa in 2008 and in 5th place for 2009. Kimi was then paid not to race in 2010, as Ferrari brought in 2-time champion Alonso. From then on, he would go rallying until his comeback in 2012. For the newly renamed Lotus team, where he would partner Grosjean. Needless to say, he did amazingly, as I already said before, 2 wins and 13 podiums. For monetary reasons, he left the team at the end of 2013 with 2 races to go still, and departing Massa left a hole to fill in Ferrari, a hole that the Finn fell into and would fill for the foreseeable future. When drivers were asked to choose the racing number for the new regulations of 2014, for a more branded experience, Kimi picked the number 7. Why? When asked, he replied with, "It's the number I already had last year and I saw no reason to change it." Okay then. The F14D from Ferrari was the worst car up until their 2020 contender. It went from being able to challenge for podiums in 2013 to a midfielder at best for 2014. Raikkonen was outraced every single race weekend by Alonso apart from one. Maybe Fernando was just faster, but that ratio was certainly cause for concern. He finished 12th in the championship. Alonso left Maranello in 2015 and Vettel came in from Red Bull, and he would assert himself as the number 1 driver. We all like to make fun of Bottas for being a wingman. Well, Kimi won once in his 5-year stint at Ferrari, while Vettel was taking the title Vato to Hamilton. Raikkonen could only outrace his teammate 15 times in 102 races. That is an incredibly poor 14.7%. After having won the 2018 US Grand Prix, his first win in red since Spa 2009, he moved back to Sauber to try to push them to the front of the midfield with his wealth of experience and a new budget due to the new title sponsor. The Sauber team was on an upswing since their 10th place finish with 2 points courtesy of Nasser in 2016. For 2017, instead of holding on to the driver who had scored for them, they held on to the money and kept Ericsson. They then brought in Wehrlein though, who helped them get a further 3 points, 5 in total by the German, on a clearly back of the grid car. Come 2018, Instead of holding on to the driver who had scored for them, they held on to the money and kept Ericsson, but brought in F2 champion Leclerc to keep him company. That year would be in stark contrast to the previous season, with a new look and 48 points, over 80% of which were brought in by Leclerc. They would finish 8th. 2018 saw a lineup change, with Kimi and Giovinazzi joining the now renamed Alfa Romeo team. And the pace was still there, with another 8th place finish in the championship and Raikkonen outracing his teammate for the first time since Lotus, 16-2 to be exact. Most would have expected the natural progression to be an upward trend, but not only has the team regressed, but Kimi has just been slowed lately. They retained 8th in 2019 with only a few more points. For 2020, both were equal in pace, and for 2021, Giovinazzi has barely surpassed him. The team progression has gone nowhere, and they are back at the tail end of the grid, only ahead of Joke Team Haas. People have been praising Giovinazzi for being faster than Kimi, who, yes, is a world champion, but in my opinion that's the bare minimum of what he should be doing. Not to be promoted to another team, but to not be sacked from the sport altogether. Mistakes becoming a more regular occurrence naturally leads to think that maybe Kimi's time has passed. 2021 also saw the return of Fernando Alonso, who is just a year younger at 40, and after a few races of acclimatization, was back on the pace, fully, not only outracing his teammate but scoring consistent points and already being signed for 2022. Kimi has had an average qualifying position of nearly 16th, with 5 Q2 appearances and 7 Q1 exits. It's been made clear though that the problem wasn't the car, otherwise Giovinazzi wouldn't have made it out of Q1 9 times and reached Q3 in Monaco, with an average qualifying position of 14th. Where has the wealth of experience led Sauber? To be closer than ever to their 2017 tally of 5 points, with the current trend. As I said last year, the biggest surprise on the driver market for me wasn't Vettel leaving Ferrari, Ricciardo moving to McLaren, or Fernando Alonso coming back. It was the 1-year extension for both Alfa Romeo drivers. I honestly cannot believe what's going on in there. With the number and quality of young drivers waiting for a seat, can't a case be made for one of them to get Kimi's? I know he does this for fun, but he's not only not really benefiting the team, but hindering future prospects of the sport. With only 20 seats available, one might think Kimi's time is over. Will this be the last year in Kimi's career? Do you think the Iceman has melted? What lineup do you think Alfa Romeo should run on the 2022 grid? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, thank you for watching, subscribe if you are new to the channel, turn on notifications, and as always, I will see you all next time.